Okay, I guess there was a sound issue. Hello, am I audible? Hello, hello. Can someone confirm if audio is okay? Hello. Okay, cool. So once again, welcome to the DSCPSIT's first Android Study Jam session, the Android 101. So have how many of you guys already know the that who created the Android? Who is the person behind it? Those who know the answers, please drop it in the chat. Okay, so we have the answer in the chat. So let's move ahead. Oh, uh-oh. It's here again. How many of you have been treated by this Are You Robot thing? Like it it's like confusing every day. It pops up on all of your things. How many of you like hate this captcha thing? Me too. So okay, we have done it. We have got passed through it. I'm not a robot. So लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड तो चलिए आज का सेशन शुरू करते हैं सो टुडे we have one of the most amazing speakers, the one who will help you dive into an everlasting journey of Android, a journey that you will never ever forget, a journey which will make your dreams come true. So, with this, I would love to welcome the speaker for the day, Mr. Himanshu Singh, who is a Google developer expert for Android and a senior Android engineer. He's also quite active in open source, so do check out the GitHub too.
First, I have to give my introduction. You actually have done a good job, but it's not like that. I am an active one, so you guys should be checking out my GitHub ID. It should be the other way around. I think so. I actually feel that I should be coming one and checking out you guys' ID. So that's a good thing when you're in college. Start putting out all the projects you have done just to on the GitHub. So coming up to that point, even if it's a hello world program, just put it on GitHub. Just put it everything on GitHub. Just don't try to copy it from someone and just be very cool and put it, but let's do it. So I work as a senior Android engineer in a US based startup called Rumi. I have been like there for 2 years now. And just to give you the context, I graduated 2 years back. Technically, yes. So that's what I did. I started my official job journey as a senior Android engineer, same as like every other guy. But the only reason was I never started as a fresher in my whole college. So I'm going to actually divide this talk into three different segments. How you should be actually sure about, or why you should be actually choosing Android as your career choice. Being an Indian, that's a choice I want to like not force you down to, but I want to just suggest why you should be picking that up. Second, uh, what you should be doing, or what's the next step. Third, it's more into explaining a very basic idea around Android. Where do you work with Android ecosystem and Android Studio? And the third is how you can get started with the platform itself, like helping you out where you should be selecting things and doing a lot of different stuff and be a better one, or at least try to start from that point. So I'm not going to just speak because that's very awkward, frankly, speaking in front of a monitor screen. So it's better if you guys have any doubt, just drop a text over in the top chat, like wherever the chat platform is for YouTube, and I'll be seeking it through, right? So any question you can just directly ask. It can be Android, it can be your personal school life, even your technology selections. It can be anything. I'm just here to basically uh, smoothen the whole process of your choice of your job for the next level, and start like help you start your career now, because a lot of people are actually here in second year, third year, and maybe first year even. I'm not sure about first year, but second, third is definitely one. So is there anyone who is from fourth year? Please do let me know as well. So I'll start. Basically, my first job started in 2016. Even when I was in my second year, I suppose, yeah. So when I was in my second year, second sem, I started technically my first full-time job. It was a remote job, yes, but that was the time I started my job. So a lot of thing actually built up to it. So one of the most major reasons I chose Android was not because I wanted to do Android engineering, but like other people, like Raghav itself, like other Vanshika. So I was a DSC myself in 2017 or 16. I'm not sure about the year. It was the pilot program which Google was running. That was the first year they actually wanted to start off with DSC programs. And I was one of the guys who was referred to it by my faculty. Yes. So we actually went uh, to a boot camp where Google helped us about a lot of things which we have to do as a DSC. And by that point, I had a very basic level of understanding into engineering and programming languages, frankly, let alone your Android style, right? So I went there. We had to do a lot of different learnings and aspect changes about Android, and what we had to help other engineers or students per se to get them into get them started into Android, right? And by that point, I was very naive into this aspects. I came back. I started experimenting a very basic level of things, and then I stepped up to say, okay, I'm good enough, and I can start off helping and taking sessions now. So that was my first interaction with Android, how it happened. And by that time, I was already in second year, right? So I would say that's something uh, I could have changed if I would have have to redo my whole engineering style again. I would have started Android in my second sem of first year itself, and not second year first sem. So that's something I definitely like to change. Now, when I started my full time job, it was a whole level of a new journey, because in college, when you know something, a very basic level or an intro level, you still are a champion out there, correct? Because A lot of people actually don't know what you know there. But when you step into the market space, people actually consider your experience, right? That what do you know? And that one I was zero. So that is where the whole Android thing started. I started experimenting, I started reading blogs and new stuff which has to come around and go, right? That's something I did. And by the time I graduated, I already built a whole new startup for someone, like as a full-time Android engineer. So I never won. I never was the one who actually started as a fresher when we do after 4 years, right? So that's something which helped me when I was in college. So coming back to this, the learnings which I had here is definitely just don't be another student in your college. Go out for experimentations, go for internships, maybe go for other level stuff, right? Like if someone is offering you a new job in Android, but yes, it has to be from the consent of your college. But if they are offering you a fresher job, take it. But still start experimenting in whatever domain it is. It can be Android, it can be any other field. Because when you graduate, because the startup I worked for got acquired by Times India. So when I graduated, I had something to say that I built a startup which got acquired by Times of India. So something good on your resume. So that's how my journey started. I stepped into Android. I graduated. I joined this firm. It has been 2 years now, but my experience actually counts for 4 years. So technically, nobody asked me for my what do you say, that mark sheet. And frankly speaking, I had around 15 to 16 backs altogether from first to fourth year. So nobody actually cared about how many bags do I have as well, because in any case I was earning at that point. So you should as well start experimenting with Android. Now first let me answer a couple of questions. Ashish has asked, how can we be sure that non-native framework will never take over Android? That's a good question. That was a question I have been asking since start of my career, and still there's a very good answer. So the answer is basically very simple. Let's take React Native first, because the question is React Native versus Kotlin versus Flutter. Now take this up as example, right? You have React Native. You write everything into JavaScript, TypeScript, right? And that converts into your basic low-level JVM and low-level what do you say that Swift code, and then that's rendered in your phone as your app. Correct? I hope that that's easy. But now here comes the best part. Consider if there was no native development itself. Do you think React Native would have actually existed into this whole dimensions of Android? No, right? Because my whole point to explain you this, when I started my journey, there were a lot of different frameworks. There were Cordova, there were PhoneGap, there were a lot of different companies doing all of these non-native, that's how you call it, right? Non-native frameworks. They don't seem to exist now. Now there is Flutter, there is React, right? There are a lot of different aspects to it. But do you see one thing? There is still a common pattern coming around. At that point, there was still native development. It's still the native development. So if it existed at that point, it will still exist now, and it will still exist in the upcoming future. So my point is, no matter what technology you use, so even if you use React Native Flutter, you still need to have a basic understanding of how native development works, because not everything you can actually code out into React Native Flutter. You still need to go to your basic core roots of native. So that's one. Techficial asked a question: React Native versus Kotlin versus Flutter. See, frankly, all of these are hypes, right? Because you should know one thing for sure when you're in college, or first in college, is that problem solving skills, or some people say as data structures and algorithms. That's something you should be definitely sure of, right? And when are you sure of these technologies, then start up picking up a technology. So when you go out of your college, right, you step into the world, nobody is going to judge you if you know Android, if you know uh, React Native Flutter example, correct? What you know is how good is your problem solving skill. So right now, if you apply for Amazon, they will tell you to solve these 10 sets of questions, and if you solve it, you're selected. So that's how you choose it, right? That's one. Second is React, Kotlin, Flutter depends on what use cases do you have. If I have to just build a startup which I am very comfortable at, I would definitely start Kotlin, because if I have to target base of an Indian base, India is 83-84% of Kotlin. So it still has a very huge user base. React Native is still okay if I want to do it. It's just that what I want to solve a problem with. If it's a very small app or a basic level app, I'll go with React or Flutter. But if it's a very complex app which I have to build something like Uber, I definitely choose a native, because I'll get a hold of all the native stuff going around. Anshika asked, what are the prerequisites for Android apart from Java? I think you can move on from Java. You can say the prerequisite now is Kotlin, and that's a very basic level of understanding. Uh, like you should just have a basic overview how Kotlin works and how you can work with Kotlin in Android. You don't need to go to Java. Techficial asked another question: should one learn React Native or Kotlin as a first year? Right. So I think none. First year, you should actually dedicate yourself completely into data structures and algorithms or problem solving skills. That is where you can actually build your whole career out of it, right? Because that's one thing it's going to stuck. See, any programming language that comes will still become old, right? We used to do Java, we are still doing Java, but Kotlin came now, everybody's porting to Kotlin. You never know, any other programming language might come out. Okay. But if I have to choose between React Native, Kotlin in coming future, I would definitely choose Kotlin again, because now with Kotlin, you can actually build native cross-platform options like Kotlin cross-platforms and what do you say that Kotlin multi-platform. That's how you can choose for Kotlin as well. But my personal choice has been Kotlin. Uh, if there's any other questions I'll take out, or no, then I'll give you a very basic introduction of the Android ecosystem itself. I'll wait for a couple of minutes and then we'll move out. So I'm still looking out for questions, because I don't want it to be more technical. I want it to be more discussion wise. That if people can ask me a lot of questions, it can be anything. Please go ahead and just have your go, because there are a lot of things which you should be like aware of. Sure, Ashish. Okay, so I'll go ahead. So one of the major important what do you say that prerequisite for Android engineering is definitely understanding the Android Studio itself, right? So that's a next goal which we have to decide, and we have to check it out. So I'll quickly share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Just let me update. Let me. Let me know if you guys can actually see my screen, my Android Studio. I'm not sure if you can. Cool. Okay, so when we create a new project, right? So what we basically do is we try to actually have a view. So consider as an example. I'll not give an example of WhatsApp right now. Uh, it's a mess. Consider Telegram or some other app, whichever you want to, right? So whatever you see, a screen basically on your phone is an activity. So activity is something like a web page. Consider it as an HTML page or a web page, uh, which is visible to you as a user when you use it. So as an engineer, when you start to code something like in Android, you definitely step up and choose an activity which suits your purpose. So I'll give you a dry run. What happens here? It's a basic activity which you might have seen when you have an empty so let's say WhatsApp chat. You have this plus icon to start your chat in Android. This is something you also know, a bottom navigation view. Instagram has it. This is an empty one which has nothing. It's less like a canvas paper where you can draw something. This is a full screen activity. It's pretty similar how YouTube videos full screens are. This is an ad mob one. This basically says, like, again, example. It is something like how ClickBuzz has it, where you can see the ads. The Google Maps Uber one. A login activity is pretty self-explanatory. This is a master detail flow. The screen is very similar to how you see Gmail on your iPad or a tablet. Right? On the left-hand screens are the list, and the right is the detailed. The navigation you can understand by the image, and there are a couple of new ones. Settings, scrolling, tabbed is the WhatsApp view. Settings, you know that. Fragment is just a sub part of your activity. So consider fragment as a sub part of your Android, right? Or web page. Consider that. So choose all of these. Or if you're building for, let's say, your Wear OS or your hand device, you can use this faces. I'm just giving a dry run, okay? Just don't think that it's okay, but I'm just helping you out. Now this is all of that other options which you want to select. So when you select something, right, one thing what happens with us is we generally tend to select empty activity and press next, because rest of the things we want to draw it accordingly. Now here comes a couple of more options. What is the name of your application? So let's say I name it as DSC. Now you can name it anything, okay? But now the most important aspect of designing an app, okay, should be your package name. Your package name should actually be something very common to you. So, but not common to a lot of different people. Like, let's say you can't just keep it com.google.something, correct? Because that's already taken. So when you go to Play Store, you see there is ID is equals to something, correct? WhatsApp has com.whatsapp. So that's a package name that's already taken. You should always select a package name which is very unique. So consider this as a domain name of a website. So you can't take, let's say when you go to buy a domain online, you can't buy www.google.com, correct? Because it's already taken. Then you go and select something else, right? In similar way, in package name itself, you also need to select one. So I'll keep it as com.himanshu.bsc.app. I am definitely sure this is a very common one. No, sorry, not common one, and that's one. That's the location. Now you can choose what language you want to go with, Kotlin, Java. I'll definitely select Kotlin. And then it's the minimum SDK. So minimum SDK basically means in which minimum phone it should work. So API 21 or Lollipop basically means the Lollipop Android version. And you just press finish. So by the time my screen comes up, I'll answer another question. Another question is, out of MVVM, MVP, MVVC. Okay, cool. What is MVVC? I have never heard of it. Which one is better? So I think there are only three prominent architectures which people decide. It's model view view model, MVVM. Another is model view presenter, MVP. And the third is MVI, model view intent. So it's a preference which you want to see. If you see the Telegram app, it's the code is open and it is built using MVP. My personal preference is always MVVM with a clean architecture setup. Correct? Nobody selects MVC. So MVC is a very old way of doing it. No one steps up for that. MVI is something people have started selecting. So yeah, that's one of them. Yes, so that's a difference. MVVM is pushed by Google itself. Google tells you, okay, so Ranjan, it's model view controller. It's not model view controller. It's just MVC. So Google pushes you to use MVVM. It's a recommended way of pattern doing it, but it doesn't force you to use it. So again, it should solve your purpose no matter what the architecture is. So there's a very famous quote being said that no matter what architecture you use, at last the user don't see that. At last the user faces one only problem, and that is how you use it and how your app is built, if it's usable or not, right? So no matter what you use, it's just app should be usable. And any architecture which you choose on your personal level, it's just that it makes your code clean and helpful for a developer. That's it. So now coming to the code, I'm just seeing where is it. Okay, this one. So in this, a basic example, I'll start explaining it. So when you design an app, you can see this. First is app, and inside app we have 3 different folders. One is manifest, another is Java, and one is resources. Right? So, and then we have a Gradle script, which has a lot of build Gradle and other stuff, right? It's a very basic level stuff. So in an Android, consider manifest as your register, right? As a register which binds up. So in a very layman term, if I have to say, if you check your textbook of your college, and if I just give you the pages, it's very tough to understand what type of book it is, right? So it has a very good covering with a certain basic drawings, and then it has an index which says, okay, which chapters are there, right? So, and in Android, manifest is very much similar to that. It's just another register, which I would have to say. It has the label, basically the name of your app, the icon, the round ones, the icons, and this is the activity. So basically whatever activity we have or whatever pages we have in our application, it is registered here. So let's say if we create another activity, it would be added here as activity and so on. Now, when you build your application, there are a couple of permissions as well which you need to use, like an internet, location, and anything else, right? So that comes here. The permission is here. Cool. So that's how manifest comes into the picture. Without this, your app would not build, because this is the basic important fraction. Now, this is the Java folder. Sorry. So inside the Java folder, we basically have a folder which has the code, where we write the code. For now, we have this main activity. Then we have folders for writing test. So that's a high level stuff, but basically a test means basically just writing some code to check that what we wrote initially works. So basically writing a new set of code to check what basic code we wrote actually works. So that's a benefit of writing this. And then we have resource folder. Inside that we have a couple of folders. So I'm not going in deep. Just I'm going to say whatever resources we use, like a font file, like an image, the layout design file of this, right? With how we design it, all of that comes under the resource, right? So that's your extra source file which you keep in HTML. And lastly, we have Gradle scripts. One is a Gradle, which is a project level. So it basically tells this is your project level dependencies and this is your app level. So whatever new libraries you use and whatever other stuff you use, we use all the libraries here inside that implementation. So you don't have to understand all of these. Okay. Consider the Gradle as a generator of your project. Manifest was your what do you say, that the register, and this is your generator. Using this Gradle, you do a lot of things like running your app, building your app as an APK, and releasing it. So that's a basic idea. Now let me go to this activity file. This activity is the one which would be opened when I run this app, right? And this is going to be shown, this design, right? Hello world. This is what you're going to see. So when I run this, this is going to be shown. So if you see here, we have a function called onCreate. So this onCreate function is responsible for loading the first time data which you need to show this screen. So inside this, we have a function again called setContentView. So when you use this setContentView, it takes an integer and it passes the layout file. So this is that specific layout file which we have, and we have set this here, right? So now let's say I have this file. If I need to change this hello world, because that's a tradition, right? Like whenever you start programming, you just input some sort of text out there and that's known as hello world. So it's like, chalo hello world program likhte hain, and this is it. Like this is the hello world of Android world. Now let's say I'll write it down. Hey DSC fellows, right? You can see the text has changed, correct? That's how you use text. Now let's say I want to build a button. I'll just use this. Okay, sorry. I'll be explaining this, and I'll add a text. Hey, so this is a button which I have used. You can change other properties like colors and all, but I'm just showing how you can use different widgets. Then let's say if you want to build an input field, we'll use edit text, and I'll just delete this button for now. And you can see the edit text is here. Let me add a width of match parent, and you can see the edit field is here, right? So this is responsible for having a very input fields of numbers or any other thing. So now this is how you add different widgets here right now in the screen. You can add a spinner, you can add a, let's say, checkbox, or if you just don't want to write it, you can see all the widgets here. So we have a category here, common, text, buttons and all, but common has all of these: button, image view, recycler view, fragment, scroll view, switch, correct? For text we have these, for buttons we have this, and if you want to use it, just pull this common and drag it here. Now if you go to this, you can see the button is added here and the code is added here, correct? Now let's say I want to add a switch. I'll drag it, I'll put it here. If you go here, you will see the switch added, correct? So these are different widgets and how you can use them. So now coming to this, just don't look into constant. I'm not going to explain that. It's just a basic way of designing the positions. So here it's aligned left, right to the bottom. So it's basically in the center. Two important widgets are properties are layout width and layout height. So this actually defines how much width it is going to take and how much height it is going to take. So wrap content means that based on the input characters, it would expand like this, right? So it's expanding. But if you choose match parent, so it basically says it takes the full width. Match parent means it takes the full width, and wrap content means till the point it expands, it would take the value. So if I copy just this and paste it again, it would expand again. It would take the match parent, yes, but it's not actually taking the match parent. Or if you want to have a fixed, let's say, width, so you can also input a number, let's say 500, right? Or let's say 50, I'll give it 50, and I'll add DP. So DP here stands for density pixels. So here the units of the screen is measured via DP, and we enter the numbers here. So now let's say if I want to change, or if I want to have other options like properties, I can just use Android. I'll add colon, and you can see a lot of different properties being added here, correct? So if I do text all caps, I'll do true. you would see everything coming up as caps. If I do it false, you'll see it coming at the basic level how I wrote it. Similarly, you can add other configurations for edit text as well. Let's say I want to have an input type of text, date, number, decimals, any other stuff, right? So it's basically like how you want to design it. So this is how you design it. And here in this file, you actually go along, take this data, right? And use it here. So let's say a click of this button, or if I want to change the switch values on and off, correct? So all of these happens here. So I'll just show you a basic example how I do it. So to uniquely map any of the widgets from the XML to this activity file, right, you need to have something called identifiers or ID, this one. So what an ID basically means is it's just a uniqueness to tell that this widget already exists. So I'll name it as text view name, for example, right? But I can't have the same ID to any other widget. It would throw an error. It would say duplicate ID. The reason is in an XML file. So this is one XML file, and inside this two different IDs can't be same. So here I'll do edit text. Now the error would be gone. But now I can't keep this or this in button, right? So now what I want to do is, I'm just doing a very basic example, that I want to click the button here. When I click this button, I'll take this text from here part and I'll just display it here. So I'll delete this switch for now, right? So what I've done this, that I'll click this button, I'll take the text from this input field and I'll print it here. So just to do it, I'll do it in the onCreate. I'll just show how to do it. I'll write button. This is the specific one which we have as an ID, and I'll attach a click listener dot set on click listener. Correct? So what I did was I took this button, I added a click to it. Now what I want to do in this is I want to take the text from this edit text. So I'll take the text and name it as a variable text. So in Kotlin, basically in a very high generic way, this is how you create a variable. Val means once the value is set, you can't change the value. And when you use var, you can change the values, right? And this is how you create a function. So if I have to create a function, let's say I'll do fun, say hello, correct? This is how you create a function. So now, just to give you a basic idea of how this click listener works, I have created a variable called text. Here I use the edit text name. I'll get the text from here and I'll convert it to string, right? It can be a number as well. It can be anything. So I just converted it to the string. And to set this text in this text view, I'll just use text view name, which we have. And here I'll pass this text as text. So what basically we did is we first created this XML layout, right? It would run in a very messy way, but yes, it should run. We added 3 different widgets, text view, edit text, and a button. Then we went into our activity. We took our button, correct? This one. We attached a click listener. We just want कि हम इसका event trace कर पाएं कि इसको हम click कर रहे हैं in a very basic, easy way. So when we attached a click listener, inside that we are taking the text we have in this edit text. So to take that text, we use edit text name, text toString, done. And as a last step, we took this text and set it here. So to set it, we use text view name dot text is equals to text. That's it. So that's a very basic use case how we do it, right? So that's an idea how we use button and click listeners and text and every other stuff, correct? So that's how I use it. So I'm just giving you an example to show that this was so easy just to take text, to have a click list and just to set it. Now, if you want to do a very generic way, right? Like you don't want to write everything on the onCreate. So I'll create a function. I'll name it as set click listeners. right? And I'll create a function to it. What I can also do is I can just cut this and I can paste it here. So now if you see, my on create became cleaner and I just have a function to it. So in this, I declared a variable, I declared a function, and I also used a modifier, keep private hai ye. I can't use this function outside of this class to another file. So we used private. Now in Kotlin, this is how we define a class. And to have someone else's property, like an interface example, you can use this colon and add that interface here, or as an abstract or an open class. If we need to extend some other class, we just use it colon and pass the class object here. Correct? So that's how we use it. Correct? I'm just trying to give you a very basic overview. I'm done with that. Now let me share you my another part. Okay. So coming back. So why I was here, right? Like for this session and a basic intro and all of that. A lot of people actually want to become an Android developer. A lot of people just see someone else doing something and they want to become again an Android dev. So this conversation or this point actually turns out why I am here is I'm just helping you here to get started, correct? So I'm going to show you this. This is a slide, right? And in this slide, you would be seeing the steps ahead, how you can get started, correct? So this is done. So now Vanshika and Raghav have an access to this very basic Kotlin course. I made you understand how variable works, how function works, and a lot of things, right? But this is a very fun way of learning Kotlin. So someone asked the question, what should we start? This is what you should start, like the Kotlin basics using Android. So in this, it's a win-win situation because now you learn Kotlin, now you learn Android, both on a very basic level, right? Now, these has couple of things like basics of Android. Then there's a very whole churned out path to create. So if you see in the screenshot, right, it has. So if you see the screenshot now, maybe it has the basics, write your first program, create a birthday message. So it's basically like a step-by-step process. And when you are done with the whole process setup, right, that you are done with doing all the path, you have a very basic quiz to take it from. That quiz actually takes out whatever has been taught. They ask you a question, they give you the options, and you have to select it, right? And the fun part is you actually get badges to show off. So this is how your developer profile would have now, right? And this is how your badges would look like. So I'll tell you why you need to start, but this is the place where you definitely need to start. And please do start. This might look like a promotion, this might look something, but at least start it. You go ahead, you start this. If you don't want to start it from here, go and ask Raghav and Vanshika and they'll help you out. They'll basically help you out to get started with this, but do collect your badges. Please tag me on Twitter if you start doing all of these, right? And just do a lot of experiments with Android. Android is a very vast world, right? And I'm just helping you guys to understand what I want to do. So Dhruv has asked me a question asking how much time will it take to be a good Android developer? See, I'm doing Android for 4 years and I don't consider myself good. So it's basically like how much time you give yourself to just learn a new thing. It's nothing much more than that. You would never become an expert. It's just that you would know how to do stuff. Cool. So never churn out in that way that I'll be a good Android developer. You're just a learner of the society. You learn, and you learn. That's it. So last point, why I want you to focus is why this whole course and this everything is important, because consider this. You have a very basic and idea level of Android user. In India, the population of a mobile user, like mobile users, is in and around 60 crore. In that, 83% people are Android. So just do the maths. Mera back tha match mein. I'm so sorry. But do the maths. 83% of 60 crore. आपने 1% को भी हिट किया, your Android career is a success, right? So that's one. I'm so sorry, Arti. What was your question? Acha, okay. I thought that's a statement. I didn't understand the question. For responsive app, should we use match parent or app content? Cool. So a responsive app, you mean what exactly? Because there is no such thing called responsiveness. It's just that you have a certain level of device configurations and you need to build for all of them. You can't just build a responsive app as per se, because responsiveness comes in web. Here we have four set of screens which you need to use. That's it. Any other question, guys? I think I am done with my slide, right? Just uh, let me know if you start getting badges and all. I would love to see you guys progress, and anywhere, LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere, just tag me out or just message me out that you guys have earned it. I would definitely like to see that.
We received a few questions before the session, so I'll picking some of them. One of them
Please.
goes like this: should we use Dagger or Hilt? Like both are existing in the market space, so which one should be used?
Okay, personal I'll give I'll give all the answers based on personal preferences. First, Hilt is just an updated version of Dagger. It's like the fancy version of a normal Dagger, but you can use Hilt. Definitely yes. In coming 1 year, everybody is going to run behind Dagger, but now the consideration is, consider this: you should know how Dagger Hilt is actually working internally. So Dagger, not the hilt one, the basic Dagger actually helps you prepare for it. So you should know how Dagger works, and then you should take the fancy version of it, right? So consider this: in engineering or in school, for example, you were never taught to do grammar at the initial stages. You were first taught to how to write alphabets. So even if you don't know alphabets, you can still write what do you say, that statements by a lot of practice, a lot of way. But if you need to write a lot of proper things, you need to know grammar, you need to know how alphabets and how words are being made, right? So it's basically like you need to know the basic understanding of it, and then you can use Hilt to simplify stuff. So Hilt is just a simplification of Dagger in a very fancy way.
The next question was like one person said that the starting an Android project is easy, but when it gets complex, then it becomes very difficult to manage out things. So how do we do that?
Cool. So answer for this is basically having a better architecture. Have a very good level of architecture where a lot of things are already sorted. So you don't have to go to and fro and do a lot of this, right? You just do once and it's sorted. So if architecture is there, it's separated. Now, an example for this again. So consider having a copy where you write maths, physics, chemistry, and every other notes in that same copy. Managing that is tough. But when you divide a segment of your copy, that this segment is only for maths, right? This segment is only for physics, and then you write in that, you know where to find what. So that's a basic understanding why should we have an architecture.
And next
Yeah.
question is like, what kind of apps should we make to get internships?
If someone has a good idea about Android or something and they're looking for internships, I can help them out. First, second, if you're looking into the market, don't just run behind internships, right? Because there's a very good trend in India going around that हम exposure देंगे तुम हमारे यहाँ internship कर लो, but always ask for money while doing internship first. Second, you don't have to build apps. You just need to have a basic understanding how Android works, how Android basic things works, and use that as a thing to promote on resumes. So these badges which I talked about, this might help you in getting internships.
Yeah. And next question is like, Android learning is quite hard. So how can we simplify it? Like libraries change frequently.
That's, see what I said in last couple of questions. You are a student, you always have to learn. You're a student of Android. Everything change, correct? You have to still cope up with it. Your 12th standard life is not same as how your engineering life is. You still coped it out with engineering life. You still need to understand, you still need to learn, and then you need to keep yourself updated. So consider this example, right? You are like, you can't live an 80s style right now. You can't wear dresses when 80s people used to wear, because that's outdated. Now you have upgraded yourself. That's how you also need to do in Android. something you done is outdated. Now you need to upgrade it. That's it.
I guess that also answers my next question. Like, if a person is using Java for now and he doesn't want to switch to Kotlin, so I guess you should.
Yeah, I still say you should actually move to Kotlin because not because it's very easy, but it teaches you a lot of things. Two things per se, very one, learning a new language. That's always a good thing on your resume. Second, it helps you learn how you can migrate from Java to Kotlin. So you get two experiences from doing one task. So it's a good thing. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, and the next question is like, if we do Android in final year, can we expect on-campus placement?
Yeah, I don't know. Basically, it depends on your college, right? My college had no Android placements. Frankly, हमारे यहाँ तो अच्छी colleges companies भी नहीं आती थी. It was Infi, Accenture, and all of stuff. So I went off campus to get a job. So it depends on your college.
Okay, so we are done with our questions.
I
Many
think
ones
I'm
have
also
been
done.
already answered in the chat.
Yep, everything.
Yep.
Do you guys have any other questions? I'm for a couple of more minutes. Then let's see. This has been a quite a good session. Like people are actually asking questions. So okay, I have a question for you guys. If not Android, what is the other thing you guys are preferring in college? What's the thing is exciting you guys now? That you should be learning this, you should be doing this. Because when I went to college, everyone was like, I'm web developer banning, I'm app developer banning. But now there are a lot of different fields coming out. I learned it from documentation, frankly. I use the only way I understood. So that's a suggestion for you guys as well. If you are starting in Android, do couple of here and there stuff, but definitely learn to understand the documentation of Android because that's your best friend now. Arti, Ayush, machine learning, right? So you guys are machine learning guys. What is the machine learning thing? My answer in my basic like initial stage is what machine understands everything. मेरे को नहीं पता क्या है, but machine understands everything. I don't need to do anything. So that was very fancy for me initially when I heard this, and AI as well. So what is a machine learning? Somebody can explain. Web development, doing it for 4 years. I have stepped into web now. Like I'm doing React and Vue. It sounds fascinating, yes, because I needed to build a web project for myself. But NLP, yes, I know someone who was actually working in Zomato. He was a very good friend. He was like an NLP engineer for them, and now he works at OLX. So NLP has a very good scope. So I know that part. And it's not like machine learning ka nahi hai, theek hai? Machine learning is always there, but only thing is you need to understand the core project of it. Cool. RT, machine learning versus Android. Ah, up to you preferences. I need to see something happening. To Android is for me. Machine learning is all in the background and stuff. Mathematics. मेरा back था तो. I think I am done. No other questions maybe.
If anyone has any question, you can drop it in the chat. Yes, we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I'm just looking out for questions.
Just a personal question. If some
Sure.
like I have been doing Android for a while, and should we switch to Flutter, like cross-platform thing?
No. If you are already into native, don't switch. Just learn. See, there is a plethora of things to learn in Android. Just don't switch because it's fancy. See your use case. Like, see, do you definitely need it or not? Just because some other person comes up and says कि मैं flutter कर रहा हूँ doesn't mean it is very fancy or cool. You don't have to be that next cool kid of your club. You just need to be someone you want to be. So decide that first. Don't just be the coolest guy. यूज केस देखो उसके हिसाब से डिसाइड करो.
Okay, so with this we can come to a wrap of the session.
Sure, I think that this is definitely a good one.
So with this, you all have been a wonderful audience, and we would love to see your cool apps which you make, and do send the screenshots to the
Definitely,
teams.
man. I would like to see it. Like, there are a lot of apps you can build, quiz, and anything you want to. Just let me know if you need any help as well. I would definitely love helping you guys. College is something I want to really go back, but I don't know if I would ever get a chance. But uh, COVID situations and all. But I definitely like helping people. So students are definitely one of them. So please drop text if you want any help.
Yeah, you can drop the text in the Android channel on Discord, and we'll be forwarding your
Yeah.
queries to sir.
Arey yaar, Himanshu is okay. Don't call me sir.
So thank you guys, and see you soon in the next event. Good
Thank you,
night. Take
everyone.
care.